Baris is here. So, Baris,
Thank
the floor
you.
is yours. Clicker is also yours.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for reminding I'm standing between the lunch and this. I'll briefly talk about, first, thanks to Miles. I mean, I think he did a great job in terms of describing what a corporate venture capital is and how it can help your companies. And it's a fairly new concept in, I guess, in Turkey, but there are lots of advantages, and Miles touched on many of those. And it will be great to see Qualcomm also investing in the space. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Intel Capital. And we are a venture arm of Intel Corporation. We have I have two of my colleagues around here who can give you a lot of information about Intel. And Intel, as you know, is one of the leading brands and innovation houses around the world, been around forever in terms of building the next generations of technology, all the way from PC today to tablets and the phones and cars and TVs. There are a lot of interesting areas Intel Corporation is innovating in. You should definitely talk to them. Emre is right over there. And from the Intel Capital perspective, I've been here 6 months, and I get that question a lot. So that's why I talked to Burak, and I thought it would be a great idea to give you an idea about what Intel Capital is and what we are doing, what is the scale of Intel Capital, and how you can benefit from Intel Capital's network and capital, and also a bunch of other value adds I want to touch on quickly. So we are a venture arm of Intel Corporation. All our investments are strategic. We invest in the intersection of the strategic alignment with the Intel Corporation and in financially attractive companies. So we have a proven track record of success and engagement. We've been doing this since '91. We invested around $10 billion. We are truly stage agnostic, all the way from, again, seed stage, early stage investment, all the way up to pre-IPO, in some cases, public companies, to build ecosystems, to support them, get into and innovate into next disruption curve. And we are very committed on that, and we've been doing that around the world since '91. And we work very closely with our entrepreneurs, very engaged, all the way from building. Again, we were talking at the previous panel about the boring stuff, which is execution, building a great seed stage idea, a seed stage team, a business, to potentially a billion-dollar company. And the process of that requires a lot of governance, a lot of team building, board building, and also help around globalization and opening up doors. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we help in those different areas. We invest in many different broad range of sectors, all the way from mobile to internet, healthcare, software. I'm happy to talk to anyone around the room and about opportunities and ideas. And I mean, even if you have an idea, please stop by. I'd love to meet and talk to you about what we could do, how we could help, and how we see the market. And we are a global organization, so we see a lot of interesting ideas around the world. So today, I guess a lot of other investors mentioned that you really need to be global. Innovation happens everywhere, and we are in 25 plus countries. We are watching what's happening in internet in China, Brazil, US, and the US is not always the start of all those. I mean, look at gaming. Gaming started out, especially the mobile and social gaming, and the whole virtual currency theme that's been going on since '07 in the Valley has started way back from the China, Korea, Japan, and those kind of insights is all global. So we have a great advantage in terms of seeing what's happening around the world and channeling that into our portfolio companies, and also helping us as the local investors on the ground to spot those opportunities early on and help them build into billion-dollar companies, hopefully. And again, as I mentioned, we build ecosystems, and we've been investing as Intel Capital along with Intel Corporation into many different devices, different innovation curves, all the way from PCs, now data centers, ultrabook tablets, and very other innovative areas like TVs and cars. We are truly global. Offices, again, I'm not sure if it's visible, but darker blue is where our offices are, and lighter blue is where we had invested. So we pretty much cover all around the world and love to invest in many other gray areas, and very excited about the opportunities around there. We announced specific funds into regions. We have funds around different ecosystems, connected cars, Ultrabook, AppHub. AppHub is our application platform where we invest in early stage, later stage companies innovating in the application world. Not HTML web, but on the application side. Just for the numbers, we have a lot of numbers here. So we've been around for a while, and the scale that we got to is very impressive. I mean, we've done 150 deals last year. I mean, 150 deals, just to put that into a context, is 3 deals a week. And out of that 150 deals, majority of that was around 85 plus was follow-on rounds, meaning we continue to support the companies that we invested before, which is very critical. Miles mentioned that. The continuity of capital is very important, because when you raise $1 million, couple $100,000 round, it's just the beginning. If you want to build a multi-$100 million company, you will need a couple other stages of funding to build your organization, to scale up your business. And so we've been doing that for our portfolio companies. Lots of the bigger portion of the money is going outside of US. And one other thing I want to highlight here is we have a great vantage point in terms of the exit markets. We had 7 IPOs last year. 7 of our portfolio companies IPO'd in different markets around the world. We have 28 acquisitions, so that gives us a great experience in terms of what are the trends and the exit terms. How do you negotiate? I mean, the likelihood of an entrepreneur negotiating with a large corporation like Oracle, Salesforce to sell their company is probably once in their lifetime, most of the cases. So the negotiation could be very tricky, and you could leave a lot of value around the table. So we've been doing that for a while. I mean, again, last year we have around 35 different exits, and 28 of them was M&A. And during those M&A discussions, obviously there are a lot of nuances that you need to be careful about negotiating with these large corporations who've been doing that for a while, so they know how to take value off your hand. So you need to be very careful. And I mean, just that, if I'm an entrepreneur, just that will be enough for me to work with a corporation who has enormous amount of experience in that area. We've been, again, last year we had around 35 exits. These are all from all around the world. AVG is one of our IPOs. It's a security company. It IPO'd in New York Stock Exchange. We have a bunch of different exits from Gaikai Gaming to Zapato, which is a shoe retailer, to e-tailer, to Mall CZ, which is iMall. It's the Amazon of Central Eastern Europe. We sold it to Naspers last year. And so many other segments, software, mobile. So that kind of vantage point is very valuable. And as again, being a person who went through this couple of times, every negotiation in the exit situation, exit negotiations are really important, and you really can leave a lot of value around the table. So you need to watch out for that. We've been in terms of the engagement with the companies, we are deeply involved all the way from building the team and technology consulting, which is an area that is super valuable for companies who are doing deep technology innovation. We have around 10,000 software engineers at Intel, which is a very little known factor. So a software, an enterprise, a virtualization data center, big data, cloud services companies tap into the expertise and also some of the patents in certain cases that we have, and they will be able to work together. And so that's from the technology side. From the distribution side, we as Intel has presence around 150 plus countries. So we have customers from anywhere in the world, from small, medium-sized enterprises all the way up to Fortune 1000 companies. So that gives us an amazing network where we could help the little company somewhere in Turkey to go in front of these Fortune 1000 companies to pitch his business or her business to get either investment or a partnership or a customer. So what we do is facilitate these introductions and meetings around the year, multiple times a year, and we call it Technology Days, Intel Technology Days. Last year we've done 76 of them. I'll show you a couple of names which are super impressive in terms of being in front of those companies. And then Intel Global Summit, which we do annual. It's our annual CEO meeting. We have a couple of people here join there, both our portfolio companies and some leading reporters in Turkey. And that gives them a great advantage of networking and meeting and seeing the trends from around the world. So some of the companies we do technology days with, it's Warner Brothers, Toys R Us, Procter & Gamble, Comcast. So what we do is every year we have a list of companies like this, and we go through each of those and ask about their problems. What are they looking for? What are the technologies they want to acquire, they want to work with, they want to buy services from? And then we go to our portfolio companies and then pick 10 to 15 of them and bring it in front of the key decision makers in this company. So for example, with BMW, we'll pick a bunch of data services, infotainment, entertainment, location-based services, mobile companies, and then they will go meet with the CIO, CTO, GMs at BMW for a day, and they will have their one-on-one, they will have their team meetings, and at the end of the day, what we want to achieve, a follow-on meeting to a partnership, to an investment, and potential an acquisition. We don't share those numbers, obviously, and it's sometimes really hard to track, but we do that every year, and 7 to 100 times a year, which is another very important factor that Intel Capital can help the small companies to get in front of these large corporations. And Global Summit, we do that again every year. We bring a bunch of impressive executives and entrepreneurs and our portfolio companies around the world, get them together for 3 days, a heavy networking environment where we open up we basically work for the entrepreneurs. We bring entrepreneurs in front of whoever that could help the company grow from that fledgling startup to a $100 million business. So we do whatever we can through introductions, through rolling up our sleeves and working with the recruiting, hiring board members, and things like that. And one last point I want to remind is, apart from our own capital, again, as I mentioned, a startup from early days to a couple $100,000 or $1 million investment, they will need multiple rounds of investment. And while we do invest and we continue to invest, we also pre-sign global investment syndicate where we agree with certain number of investors, around 30 plus today, and EBRD, IFCs, and China Development Bank, Temasek, bunch of other names here. You could see the Silicon Valley venture capital firms. We share our deal flow with these guys. So when you raise your second round, when you raise $10 million, but you can't find the last $5 million, we take the whole round and syndicate within our network. So we're able to fill it easily. So as an entrepreneur, you don't need to spend time to go around and pitch your company around, but focus on building that $100 million or billion-dollar business. So this is another very critical aspect of building the business. If you ask any entrepreneur here, I bet none of them enjoy fundraising. It's one of painful, very ambiguous processes that I don't think any entrepreneurs like. So we try to ease that on our portfolio companies and make sure when they need money, we have deep pockets around us and we can fill that round in quickly and get the company, get the team and the CEO focus on building the business, but not fundraising. And that's about it for Intel Capital. I'll be around. Again, I have my colleague Emre around here, and you can ask him about what Intel does in Turkey and how we work together, and also how Intel Capital can help you grow your businesses. Thank you, and looking forward to meeting you all.
Great.